My son comes to youth group and he just doesn't feel connected. Hey, my daughter's been coming to your group for a year and she hasn't made any friends. I thought this was a place you say all the time that they're supposed to find a place to belong. What's up with that? Hey, my name is Eric with a K, and I'm the host of the Practical Youth Ministry Tips podcast, and I've heard these phrases before. Maybe you've heard them as well, and other ones like it. And what I typically say when someone says that their son or daughter, their kid, their teenager is not feeling connected, I will say one of two things needs to happen. One, have they signed up for camp? And two, are they in a small group? Those two things I feel like are so critical for them to get connected. If they're not going to camp and having that common shared experience, and if they're not in a small group, connecting with people, it's so easy. We all know it, like parents know it, right? Where you can easily come into church, sit in the back row, come a few minutes late, leave just as the last song starts, and never be known or talked to by anyone. And then you can jump onto Google and Yelp and write a review. I've been coming for a long time and no one has said hi to me.
No one even knows who I am.
We can find ways to do that, right? And the same is true for youth group. It's a little harder to hide unless you've got 1,000 students in your group, right? But a student can walk in and be disengaged, not try, right? Sit in the back, leave early, come late, all of that, and tell his parents or her parents that, you know what, nobody cares that I'm there. They wouldn't notice if I wasn't there next week. So there is some onus on those coming, right? But I believe we can set up students for success in this way when it comes to small groups. And today I want to talk about how to organize or set up your small groups. And I've been doing youth ministry for over 30 years.
You're really old.
And I've seen small groups and I've run small groups in a whole bunch of different ways. Some of them I have really liked, some of them I haven't liked at all, and some of them like, oh yeah, that works. And I'm going to give you my favorite way to do it at the very end, but I want to walk through a bunch of the different ways, all right?
The anticipation is killing me.
The first way you can break up small groups is just by grade. You put them by your grades, 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, whatever. You break them up by grade. Now, each of these categories, I think, has some extra options you can add on to. Like it could be grades at church and it could be grades in someone's house. It could be grades and then broken up by gender, right? So there's a number of add-ons or extensions to each of these, but I just want to talk generically about the grades. Doing it by grades does a couple things for you. One, it helps you to really easily get your volunteers identified with a certain group of students. Like, I'm the 9th grade guys leader.
Apparently, I'm their leader now.
That is an awesome focus for volunteers. If you have enough volunteers and if you get enough students, right? That's an awesome focus for a leader. This is what I do. I'm the 9th grade guys small group leader. Because then when they go to camp and when they're sitting in youth group or going to church, like you can get your guys together. That is your people. That's who you target. That as a volunteer, it's an easy win to know, who should I try to connect with today? I'm not trying to connect with everybody. I'm just trying to connect with the 9th grade guys. I'll have conversations with others, but that's a huge win for your volunteers. The other thing I think it does is it helps you with content, right? So you know how it is if you have middle school and high school together and you've got a group where that's how you run your ministry. There are some things that makes it a little difficult to talk to a 6th grade boy and a 12th grade girl, right? Sometimes like you just kind of target right in the middle, and for most topics that works okay. But it's a whole nother conversation for another video of when to split middle school and high school and all that stuff. But when you break small groups by grade, you have that ability to have conversations that really target them at the age level that they're at. Okay, the second thing I would say is by gender, right? you can break them by grade, and then you can break them by gender, like having ninth grade guys, or maybe your group, you've got 10 students, 5 guys, 5 girls. It doesn't matter what grade they're in. That's great. Break them up. So you're going to take all the guys over here, all the girls over here, and then you can do battle of sexes sometimes with games or whatever. But then you go, this is my group. This is I target the guys in my group, or I target the girls in my group, right? That target sounds weird.
This is only weird if you make it weird.
But that's my heart for the group that I'm assigned to. So I think that's a great way to break groups up. Another way you can do groups is by school or region. So you might go, like if you live in an area and the church is kind of centrally located in a town, you could go northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. So you could do it by region, or you could go let's say you've got 5 schools in your area, or 3 schools, or whatever it is. You could go, all right, we're going to have Shadow Hills small group is going to meet over here, and Palm Desert's going to meet over here. Whatever the school is, right? You can break them up by schools. The downside of that doesn't allow some students that are connected to each other beyond a school setting, but they're friends outside of school and they want to be part of group. Personally, I'm totally okay with making exceptions, right? Because you want to set up students to win. You want them to belong, and maybe they don't have friends at their school and they're connected with students at another school. So I think there's exceptions to those rules. If your heart knows about that kind of stuff, I think you lose. I want you to win. I want your students to win. I want your volunteers to win. I want your parents to win. So I think there's always exceptions to those things.
My point being, there's always an exception.
But I think you can break it up by region or by school. And the upside of doing it by school is there is some healthy competition that has potential to come into place, right? Let them have fun, and maybe the 2 local schools in town are the rivals for football or whatever. So you have your small groups. Being mindful that has potential to be messy, but I think region and schools is another way that you can break up your groups into. Another way you can break it up is specifically by studies. So let's say you're doing a number of different studies. Let's say you have 4 different studies you want to do. So you're going to do a Case for Christ study. You're going to do some purity type of study. You're going to do a book study through the book of James, or you're going to do whatever. And you offer those up and you have students sign up for them. And then, if a certain study has too many, maybe you split that into 2 groups or whatever, but you give students an opportunity to sign up based on something that they're interested in. Maybe it's a chess and Bible study, or it's based on some interest, right? But take that study and let them sign up for it. Okay, I want to put the final 2 into lump it into one conversation, because it's kind of a one versus the other conversation for a lot of people in youth ministry. You can have students in homes for small groups, and you can have them at church for small groups. Both can work. Let's focus for a second on church. So I've done small groups at church a number of different ways. One that seems probably the simplest is to do small groups right after your message. So however you break it up, and again, these all you have pieces connected together. So you might do 10th grade girls in church right after small groups. You go by grade, go by gender, whatever. Or you can have tables, right? If you're at the church, you just have leaders sit at different tables, and you send them off to those groups. The tough part about doing it that way is the consistency for the leaders. Now, if you say you have to go to the same leader every week, that's your leader, that's a different thing. But if it's just sitting by tables and you have leaders, but it is an option, and maybe it's just serving a specific purpose, you have to think about what's your purpose behind your small group. Is it for them to just have conversation about the message you just gave in a more like tangible face-to-face conversation? Then that can be okay. But if it's because you want them to be connected to other students and adults that are going to know them and they're going to feel like they belong, then I really think you need to have regular groups, right? The other way you can do it in church is before your session. So when I was two churches ago, we went and visited a few other churches to see how they run their youth ministry. Met with their youth pastor and maybe some of their volunteers, and which I highly encourage you to do. If you've never done that, go visit some other churches, visit some other youth pastors, and find out how do they run their ministry. So we did this, and we met with this youth pastor and some of his team, and what they did was they set up their small group to be for an hour, and then they had a half-hour break before youth group started. So I think it was on Wednesday nights. They did like 5 to 6, and then 6:30 is when youth group started. And so I was like, that's a really great idea, because what I found was having small groups right after youth group was over, right after the talk, you have 100% engagement in small groups, but as far as them attending, but the engagement was lower because we had designed youth group to be students just show up, bring your friends, that kind of thing, but they're not maybe comfortable sharing in a smaller group setting. And so it didn't, for us, it didn't set us up to have that belonging sense that we were looking for. I'm not saying it's a wrong way to do it. I'm just saying that's what we were experiencing. And so we moved it to 5 o'clock and then started youth group at 6:30. And what we found was that actually worked pretty well for our context. The other way is in homes. Again, you can break it out by gender or by grade or by region or whatever. And I don't think, I want to be clear too, I don't think you have to separate small groups by gender. I think guys and girls being together, there's plenty of opportunity for that to be a really healthy thing. So, but in homes, I love doing small groups in homes. And let me tell you a couple of wins with doing small groups in homes. Your volunteers own it. It could be a parent that hosts, and maybe they take care of dinner or whatever. But it could be your volunteer that is hosting in their home. Here's a win there. Sometimes you might struggle with your volunteers last minute texting, not feeling so good, running late, probably not going to make it tonight.
I know it's last minute, but...
Well, if their small group is in their home, they're responsible for making that small group happen, or contacting everybody in their small group and letting them know, hey, we need to push this one back, or we're going to shift it to another day this week, or we're canceling. I don't love canceling, but if they have raging stomach issues and you don't want them to have to leave, that's fine. Or maybe there's a couple of volunteers and somebody else takes over and you move it to Chick-fil-A or Starbucks or whatever. I don't know. But I love that there's a little higher level of accountability or ownership, if you will, when it's in someone's home. Okay, let me give you just a pro tip. This is my personal opinion. Okay, I'm not saying this is law, because there isn't that. The only youth ministry law is no chubby bunny.
Monkey berry marshmallow blaster.
My personal opinion is you shouldn't just assign students to a small group and give them no option to have input. Because how would that be for you? Like, you know what? I'm an extrovert. Everybody is like, you're just a potential person I don't know that is a potential friend. So if we meet somewhere, let's say at a conference or something, and you go, hey, I subscribe to your videos. I'm like, we're going to become friends. We can be pen pal buddies, whatever.
So, they're pen pal.
Like, I look at people and I'm think, I want to connect with people. But even as extroverted as I can be, when I walk into a room, I always look for somebody I know.
What do I know?
And so when you think about, like, if you were to have small groups in your church, and you want to go deeper with some of your friends that you have at church, but leadership is going, no, we're assigning small groups for everybody, so you don't have a choice. All of a sudden, that kind of feels like, oh, hold up. It's even higher level for students, right? Because students is all about friendships. How come you didn't come last week? Nobody I knew was coming. We've all heard that, right? So I want to encourage you, again, personal opinion, to not assign. Now, Could you assign, in a sense, by and give students, like, they sign up for small groups and put down 1 to 3 people that you would like to be in a small group with? Yes, then it works, as long as there's somebody that they feel connected to, if there is someone like that. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about my favorite way to do small groups in just a second. But one thing I think we should probably have in small groups, even though we do it in our regular youth meetings or whatever, is to have some sort of icebreaker game or whatever in small groups. And I want to give you a resource, if you haven't gotten this already, I think is a really great resource. And it's an ebook and a companion audiobook I want to give to you for free on games. Reasons why we do games in youth ministry, a bunch of low prep and no prep games. This is something you could give to your volunteers. You go, hey, here's an ebook and an audiobook that goes along with it that is all about books and all about games. And there's a bunch of low prep, no prep games that you can do in your small group, as well as 15 best practices for running those games. And then you'll honestly, you'll make all of your leaders like win with leading games in their small groups.
Oh, that is awesome.
By giving them this resource. I think you'll be really encouraged by this resource. So go ahead. The link is in the description below. You can download that right now for free. Okay, I told you I was going to tell you my personal favorite way to do small groups. And it's 2 things. 1, in homes. I much, much, much prefer small groups in homes over church. Again, do it in church. Totally works. Totally works. My personal favorite is doing it in homes. Part of the reason is the reasons why I shared, like the ownership that small group leaders have. When I've done it that way, I've also had a small group, and I remember my friend Todd, who I worked with. He lives right over the fence from here. So we would do, like, all the guys and girls for our small group would gather together over there for kind of the beginning portion. At that time, we were watching a video that was a recap of the message. It was about 5 to 7 minute long video of the previous week, and we'd watch the video. We would do a game. We'd watch the video. Oh, we also had dinner. That's right. We had dinner, play a game, watch the video, and then the guys would walk over to my house, and the girls would stay there. And so that worked really well. I love doing it in homes. It breaks down walls for students who are like, I don't want to go to church, but I'll go to somebody's house. That, even though maybe a stranger's house, right? But it's still with their friends. The other thing is, this is personal favorite, is doing it based on a study. And let me tell you why. Man, when I first started out in ministry over 30 years ago, there was a study called The Case for Christ Experiencing Christ. Experiencing God. Ha! It was called Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby. And I used that as a study, and we had some other studies, but that was one that students really gravitated to. They really grabbed on. There was this idea of experiencing God. Probably my favorite over the years has been Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. And the reason is, especially with middle schoolers, I've done this in homes, and I've also done it at church, but in homes, and had guys and girls together. And then the study, this Case for Christ study has been the number one, like, students responding, going, walking through that study. I always believed in Jesus, but it was kind of my parents' faith. But this is the first time I know why I believe in Jesus. And to hear a student say that, let me just tell you, that was everything for me. I always believe the big win is when a student takes the next step in their faith journey. That is a next step in their faith journey, knowing why they believe something. And so the Case for Christ has been one that I really like. So many students over the years have said something to that effect, like they started owning their faith. It wasn't just a faith that they adopted from their parents, or they went because they went to church or whatever. So I love that. So in homes, based on a study, is my personal favorite. All right, that's it for today. I'm going to have more stuff on small groups in the future. If this was helpful to you and you think, you know what, I think there's somebody else that could really benefit from this video. Would you click that share button and pass it on? I'd greatly appreciate it. I know it helps the whole algorithm and all that stuff. But I've got another great video for you next week right here on the Practical Youth Ministry Tips podcast. Thanks for checking in. See ya!